Hey everybody, it's day 34 of my RUHCUS. I know that RUHCUS is a 30-day challenge, but people have extended their RUHCUSes, and I'm extending mine for 5 days because the barbed wire open mic series is tomorrow, and I had my ceremony at the barbed wire open mic series, so I figured, hey, might as well end it there too. And so that will be a solid 35 days, and also I just needed more time, like I really did. Before I go any further with this video, I just wanted to say, in an effort to be completely unapologetic, oh my god, I really wanted to put on some makeup before starting this video, and I wanted to like run a comb through my hair and everything, but I was like, who gives a fuck, you know? So I was just like, I'm just gonna like make the video like the way I look right now, the way I woke up. I haven't slept, I have been drinking too much, and I know I said I wouldn't drink, but it's been good. Like, I've had no negative experiences. I've been hanging out with family and friends, and I've been having a lot of fun, but, you know, I'm really tired, and I wish I could have put on some makeup, but I was like, no, I'm not gonna do it. So there's that. Besides that, it's day 34, and I haven't been posting, and that's because it's been hard for me to admit some things. I haven't really been able to admit them to myself, let alone to talk about them with anyone else. And it's not just a recent thing. Like, these are things that I haven't admitted to myself for a long time, that I haven't allowed myself to admit. So this will be, like, the first time, and it's good, because my closing day is tomorrow, and I think these are things I really needed to talk about before my RUHCUS ended. So it feels like a good way to close it. So anyways, at my ceremony and on day 10, I talked about the relationship that I was in. That plays a huge role in like where I am today and like why I'm here, like with all these insecurity issues and stuff. Well, one of the reasons. And it plays a huge role in that. And I've been internalizing a lot these past couple of days, which is why I haven't been posting. But I have been active in my RUHCUS. Like, I've been talking to people about it. I talk to my family more about it. Friends, like, I have been talking about these things, but I just haven't been posting about it. Because, like I said, it was a lot of, like, internalizing and stuff like that. But the thing that has been good about this RUHCUS, too, is, like, whenever I talk about something, like, on film, whenever I talk about something in a video, or whenever I post it on, like, you know, my blog on my Tumblr, I can talk about it, like, I can talk about these issues with people. Like, for instance, the issue that I have with, like, I guess you could say my identity crisis in terms of, like, ethnicity, I've been able to talk about those issues to people, and been able to, like, relate to them in ways that I wasn't able to before because I was ashamed. So I'm really, really, really realizing how much RUHCUS is about letting go of your shame. And that's so important because shame is what holds us back. Like, all kinds of shame. It's crazy. So yeah, so I've been internalizing a lot of things, and I really just had to go back to the advice that Ebony gave me on day 10, or before day 10, which was for me to be honest, which again, I hadn't really been, but it's because I wasn't able to even be honest with myself. So here it goes. So I have walls. Like, that's one of my issues, is I don't allow myself to be vulnerable, which is funny because when I do allow myself to be vulnerable, that's kind of like the key to my happiness. But like I said, I'm so afraid of, like, rejection. I have so much insecurity that I put up these walls. And they're walls between other people. They're walls in my head. They're just walls that keep me from really being, you know? They keep me hidden. I think I feel like they keep me safe, but really they just keep me closed in. So, it's hard for me to let people in, and I always connected to people with, like, my humor and my genuine love for people. Like, I genuinely love getting to know people. I genuinely love talking to people. But when you become bitter and you become sad, like, what's left? Like, what do you have left to connect to people with? So I think that's one of the issues that I was facing, one thing that I was struggling with. And it's all due to these walls that I put up. And so now it's harder for me to connect with people, and it's harder to heal because, you know, I don't let myself be vulnerable or honest. So, oh god. Okay, so I can't even really say this. So if I'm gonna be honest, God, I cannot even say this. I can't even say these words. Okay. So back to that relationship that I was talking about for 5 years. Ugh. I can't believe I'm about to say this. If I'm honest, I miss him a little bit. Okay, or maybe a lot. I'm not sure. Okay, honestly, I'm just gonna say that I miss him, and And I'm gonna say this because I never allowed myself to miss him before, so I think that's why, like, it's ongoing, you know? I always, like, again, with the walls, I always put up the walls, these ideas. I always said I missed the idea of him, or I miss being with somebody, but I never allowed myself to really say, like, oh, I miss him. So, you know, if you can't be honest, then you bury it. Then you bury things, and when you bury things, they're still there. So it makes sense that I miss him, you know, that I still miss him. Do I miss him completely? I don't know. I don't allow myself to think about these things. But, you know, he was my best friend. You know, he was my best friend. And he was, like, the person I was closest to for a long time. And it's hard. It's hard, like, to have someone there and then just, like, not have them there. And, I don't know. It's harder because I never allowed myself to admit that. So now that I am, it just feels so weird. So, I always buried it with ideas that, like, oh, like, he wasn't good. Like, okay, like, when I stopped talking to him, I was like, he wasn't good for me. And, like, I was just really angry. And, you know, those were the feelings that prevailed. So I was never allowed to be like, oh, I never allowed myself to miss him, really. That's, like, the bottom line. So, I think the thing is that there was, like, a lot of good to him that I didn't allow myself to see. Like, I just allowed myself to see the negative, which is, like, why I had to get away. And I'm not saying that those things didn't exist, you know? I'm not saying that there weren't reasons that I should have stopped talking to him. Obviously, there were, but, I didn't allow myself to also miss the good parts of him. Like, you know, I just kept burying them, like I said. So, because of that, I couldn't really, like, allow myself to move on completely, you know? So I miss him sometimes, and I'm afraid to admit it because I'm afraid to look and feel stupid and crazy or obsessed, clingy, needy, weird, or, like, broken, you know? And I'm afraid to be laughed at, and in admitting this, I could imagine him laughing at me, you know? And I could imagine him laughing at me in this way that he would laugh at me that would make me feel pathetic, and he would make me feel like nothing, you know? And, I think that's one of the reasons I was afraid to admit it to myself, to anyone else, because I didn't want to feel pathetic. I didn't want to feel that way. And like I said, he was the voice in my head. He had become that voice, and I felt pathetic to admit these things. But if it's true, then I shouldn't be ashamed of it, you know? Like, radical, unapologetic healing. I, like, will not be ashamed if it's true. And you know what? It's true. And you know what? He's not here to laugh at me. And if he was, so what? Like, people will sometimes laugh at your truth. And if I can't deal with that, then it's just gonna be a longer and harder road. You know, fuck it. If someone's gonna laugh at me for, like, my truth and, like, what I feel, my reality, what I think, anything, fuck it. You know, that's some of the thing that I'm trying to get through. And so I just kind of have to face that. And, like, even in saying what I've said, I mean, I know I don't seem very emotional about it, but trust me, I was writing down notes before making this video, and I cried a little bit. And I can't cry, like, I'm not gonna cry in front of the camera. I'll laugh, because I'll get nervous. But anyways, so that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of looking stupid, vulnerable, you know, clingy, needy, pathetic, and all of that stuff. But I have to be able to deal with it and be unashamed. Like, that's just the truth. So I'm afraid also to feel like I lost. You know, like, in relationships, or, like, relationships with people, you always feel sometimes like someone lost and someone won. And of course that's ridiculous, but that's how they make you feel. And I feel like after relationships end, any kind of relationship, there's always kind of like a facade, and there's always like so much pride, and people don't want to lose face, you know? But, so, I guess sometimes you're afraid to feel like, to admit, like, I guess I was afraid to admit the fact that, like, I still, like, miss him sometimes, because then that would mean, like, oh, like, I'm not doing better without him, or, you know, whatever. But if that's the case, like, so what? And it doesn't mean that I'm not doing well. It just means that I have, like, these issues and these, like, feelings that I haven't let myself feel. And so therefore, like, you know, they're just part of my reality. And this is just so weird to me to be able to say this. Like, it's so fucking weird. But anyways, it's impossible to do better than someone else anyway. Like, all of that stuff, that's all bullshit, because, like, everyone has their own path, and everyone's path is totally fucking different. So, like, if you ended a relationship and they end up in a relationship with someone else and you're not in a relationship, that doesn't mean that, like, they won, or that, you know, they're better than you or whatever. I think relationships a lot of times are just social constructions that are made to make us feel crazy. And, you know, a lot of other things. But anyways, so for once, instead of running from my truth, instead of trying to hide, I'm facing it. And that's what I'm doing with the ruckus. And, like, that is me doing something better for myself for once thinking about what the hell I'm doing instead of just continuing in a cycle that's like completely horrible for me, completely horrible for my self-esteem, completely horrible for everything. I'm so used to doing things that are bad for me, hanging out with people that are bad for me, being around people that treat me like shit, and like allowing that to happen, you know, instead of valuing myself and realizing when the fuck it's time to walk away. And so that's what I'm doing with this ruckus, is I'm facing it. You know, I always run, I always hide, but in facing it, I think hopefully I'll be able to evaluate what I do and make better decisions for myself. So anyway, so like I said, to be honest, sometimes I miss him, and sometimes I wonder if he's okay. You know, sometimes I wonder if he's dead, because he would always drink and drive and crash and, you know, all these kinds of things. And I wonder if he's emotionally okay sometimes, because his family was crazy, you know. I feel like sometimes he lacked, like, emotional support from people. Well, and, you know, I feel bad about that too, but whatever. So, those are some truths, some things that I haven't been able to admit. And the thing is too, that I know what it feels like the way that his family were to him. I feel like sometimes they made him feel like how do you say it? Like he wasn't, like they made him feel like that big, you know? And I know what that feels like. And unfortunately, I think we did the same thing to each other, instead of making anything better. But, you know, you live, you learn, and, you know, hopefully you can, you know, get better. I'm sorry. This is just, like I said, it's hard. And like I said, I'm probably not going to cry, but I'm just being like I just can't, it's hard for me to even get these words out. So anyways, so yeah, sometimes I wonder if he's happy, or if he's found his, like, love story, because I know he was looking for that, and I hope he has, and I hope he's happy. And the only problem is, I still kind of have that, like, love story fantasy. Like, who doesn't? Like, everyone wants to, like, find that. And in my mind, like, it was him, you know? But obviously it's not. And my love story is, like, much different from his. Like, I feel like his was very, like, Twilight. I mean, I don't know, but very, like, that kind of thing, where you're just, like, can't, like, live without them kind of pain type thing. And mine is more, like a comfortable thing. Like, I really would, like, love to, like, have a partner where I could just be, like, totally comfortable with them, like, share your life with them, but you're not, your life doesn't become them, because then obviously things get really fucked up in the end. But anyways, so I struggle sometimes with the idea of social constructions, and, like, versus the fact that I used to be, like, a hopeless romantic. So that's sometimes part of it. Like, I still have these, like, fantasies, these ideas, but then I think, well, how much of that is, like, real, and how much of that is socially constructed? So anyways, so like I talked about on day 10, like, he had become the voice in my head for a lot of reasons, and part of me didn't want that voice to go away, because I didn't allow myself to miss him. So in, like, still thinking about, like, the things that he liked, or, like, the ways that he would view some of the things that I would do, it allowed me to, like, miss him without admitting that I missed him, if that makes any sense at all. But it became a bad habit. Like, it just became a bad habit, and it went beyond him. It, like, went to everybody. Like, what does everybody think of me? Like, I started viewing myself in other people's lenses rather than my own. So that's how that happened. But to be honest, like, I kind of didn't want it to go away, because I did kind of miss him. And, you know, I'm kind of afraid. I think, like, I've been afraid to admit that, because I'd be afraid to go back to square one. But the thing is, I'm realizing that I have never left square one. Like, I've been in square one, like, this whole fucking time. And that's hard to admit, to be honest. And, oh god. Let's see. I wrote a lot of stuff down that's, like, just, like, side notes and stuff. But anyways, so all the stuff I admitted I couldn't admit before, like, I would think about it maybe in my mind, but, like, I'd squash it right away. and it like didn't help me in the healing process because like I couldn't be honest. So it kept him from becoming my past, because like I said, if you keep burying these thoughts, these ideas, these realities, then like oh god, I'm sorry. If you keep burying all this stuff, then it'll stay in your present. It'll never become your past because it's not going away. It's just being buried under like a lot of other stuff. But anyways, so all of that running and hiding kept me from being honest, and to be honest, sometimes I genuinely miss him. And the good things that I miss about him is, like, I miss how, like, crazy and real I could be around him. I miss his creativity. Like, he wrote some, like, really good, like, stories and poems. Like, I miss that. I miss his mind and his quirkiness. And I miss how, like, he liked melancholy things. And I really miss, like, how sweet he could be sometimes. And, like, there was so much emotions, like, tied up in him. And turn this off right now if you don't want to hear me talk about sex. I'm not going to really go into it, but honestly, like, no one, like, I have never had sex with anyone like the way I had sex with him, because like I feel like the physical connection I had with him came from like the emotional connection that I had with him. I mean, I'm not trying to say like he wasn't good or anything. I'm sure he is, but I'm saying like the emotional connection like made it more, and I haven't had that with anybody else because I haven't had the emotional connection with anybody. And to be honest, I've tried to replace it in order to heal. Like when we first broke up, I went crazy and I just started having sex with like a bunch of people. And it was because I was trying to like replace him. I was trying to feel something, and it wasn't the same, you know? It was never the same. And then I went through a period where like I didn't have sex at all. Like when I stopped talking to him, like I had like no sex drive whatsoever. And like I tried to have sex a couple times just because I was freaked out because I was so used to that being like a big part of my life, and then I was just totally freaked out because I didn't want it at all, which I thought was weird. And I just had to let myself have that time and realize like you can't force it, you know? And the thing is too that I can't replace him. I can't replace him by having sex with somebody else or trying to find someone who can make me feel like that. Like it just has to be natural. You know, and so I was about to repeat my old patterns. Oh my god. To be honest, I was thinking in New Year's, I was like, I'm totally just gonna fuck somebody, like on New Year's Eve. And, you know, because I was like, I have to be able to, like, find someone who can make me, like, feel, you know, that good so that I can get over it. But to be honest, no. All I needed to do was to be honest and, like, give myself time, because all that would do would be to hide, to run to something else instead of just, like, face it, and give myself the time that I need to really deal with, I guess, like, to really let it become my past, you know what I mean? And you can't let it become your past by, like, running to something else, because again, like I keep saying, you're just burying it. So yeah, so day 10, I said I couldn't let go for a long time because I had some questions that I never asked. And I said that I didn't have them still, but you know what, I do, and I don't need an answer from him, but I feel like I just need to say them out loud. So, I guess, like, the questions I had was, like, what was I to him? Like, he made me feel like I was more to him than I was, and, did I even matter to him? Like, did I matter to him before I told him to stop talking to me? Like, would he have eventually stopped talking to me even if I told him? Like, if I never told him to? Like, what was it that I did or, like, didn't do, or was I just, like, not what he was looking for? Like, I just don't know, because sometimes he would tell me things that would lead me to believe that I was more to him than I obviously was. And the real question I guess I have is, like, how could he use me like that for so long? Like, even if I wasn't what I thought I was to him, like, obviously I was even less if he could use me like that, you know? And I guess those were just, like, the questions I had and some of the things that were hard to deal with that I didn't want to admit, that I just kept burying in my head. And, it's hard to admit that you could, like, really have feelings for someone and, like, really love someone or care about someone, and they could just use you like that. You know, and that happens to people all the time, but it was the first time that it really happened to me. And, and the fact that it didn't end bad, you know, it just kind of ended, is kind of, like, I guess why it was harder to deal with too, and why I didn't get it. So yeah, that was a lot. It was kind of scattered, but it was really hard for me to say that, believe it or not. So, now that I'm honest, I can heal, and I can let all of this become my past. And, you know, nothing will help me heal more than time. Like, time is all I have, and I just have to give myself that. And I just have to learn to love myself so that I can learn to love other people, and like not be pressured by these ideas of like what love is, like in terms of like social constructions, but just let things just be. And I need time to heal, to let my past settle. I need time to live in my present and to just let my future be open, not to put these chains and these barriers and these ideas of like what I need, like what will happen, etc., but just to be honest and unashamed and let go and just trust in the universe. And that's all you can do. So now that I've been honest about that, something that I haven't been honest about, I feel like I can stand in my truth and just be able to heal like in ways that I haven't before, and I'm not ashamed by it, you know? I really felt like I would be, and I'm not. Like, what are you gonna do? It's true. So that's that. That's day 24. Tomorrow's day 24. Oh my god, 34. Today's day 35. And I mean, this has been something that's been really helpful to me in a lot of ways. I would have never admitted this to myself. God knows how long this would have gone on. So, I'm really grateful for that. So that's that. That's day 34. And tomorrow will be the last day of my ruckus. So, see you later.